Today, I'm going to talk about one advice that many founders and aspiring founders hear all the time. Get the timing right. You hear that from mentors, you get that from investors, you get that from your friends, and those of you that are probably starting up in a basement or in a garage, at some point you probably start hearing from the pets that you have as well, right? Get the timing right, get the timing right. Well, the million-dollar question, or for some of you, the billion-dollar question is how? In movies, in fiction, yes, you've got Doctor Strange and the infinite, the time stone where you can reverse time and look through the multiverse and find the best possible option. Or in the movie Tenet, you've got the turnstile from the future where it's able to invert time, go backwards and see, correct things where you need to correct. Or for some of you who are a little bit older, you probably remember the movie Groundhog Day, where your day repeats over and over until you get something, you do something good. How wonderful that would be in the case of a startup if you're able to repeat your day over and over and get everything game on. Well, unless you're in the business of building time machines or time inversion machines for that matter, I suggest that we don't look into those movies for any inspiration. Instead, for today's session, what I'll run through with you is a couple of hacks, a couple of things that are actually within your control in order to manage time. So just take a look at the target practice above and imagine having to get the timing precisely right every single time. Yeah, it's really, really challenging. In the case of building products, if you're too early, your customer is not ready for it. If you're too late, they've already bought somebody else's product. See the challenge? Well, the Native Americans, the Native American tribes, they never had the privilege of weather satellites to tell them when it was going to rain or not rain for that matter. Instead, they had this practice called rain dancing, where they would basically dance, right, in order to summon the rain to nourish the crops. Well, the question is, did it work? Well, it did because they never stopped dancing till it rained, right? So this is what we call patient persistence. Patient persistence is hack number one, and what that does, it allows you to expand the size of your timing bullseye and just make it a little bit bigger. So keep on going, and remember, it's okay to get it in early, but please do not confuse patient persistence with persistent patience. They're very, very different. There's another word for persistent patience, and that's called procrastination. And we've all done it sometimes, particularly for founders. You've got this brilliant idea, you say, oh man, somebody stole that idea. Or, I had the Facebook idea before Mark did, right? Well, that is what we call persistently patient, right? You're just waiting forever. Patient persistence should also not be confused with annoying persistence, right? If you wait outside the office of a client hours at a go, hoping to get a meeting, you probably get a hello, but probably nothing more beyond that. Or a trend that I see coming more and more, where they start spamming your mailbox saying, hey, there's a picture of my rabbit. Next week, same, do you like my rabbit? Well, guys, I click on spam, so that's not going to work, right? Yeah, you could be really, really persistent, but that's not very targeted. Patient persistence done right, on the other hand, requires a fair bit of skill. You've got to figure out what tickles your audience, and sometimes one of the easiest way is actually to make sure that your startup has the ability to generate press. So people just tend to like to speak to people who are in the media. In the early days, I used to spend a lot of time trying to find friends, mutual friends, to connect us with key individual stakeholders at a client organization. So instead of annoying the potential client, I would actually annoy my friends who would then be able to facilitate that connectivity. So for those that are in the room today, I do really want to thank you, and I am happy to return the favor to all of you. So hack number 2. Now, it relates to the ability of a startup to anticipate failure. Asian startups, in particular, do not celebrate failures. I think it's really an Asian culture, right? I can't imagine an Asian parent going to their kids and say, hey, good job, well done, try again when they failed school. So that's not going to happen. But I think we have to attempt, we have to try, we have to celebrate failure. Failure should not be viewed negatively simply because is ultimately a byproduct of innovation. When you innovate, you will fail. And I use the word expect here. When you expect failure, is because one who expects failure is always going to be prepared to try over and over and over again. I, for example, for one, struggled for the longest time to anticipate and expect one of the most common failures in an organization, small failures. And that's basically talent retention. When people ask me what kept me up at night in starting the organization, I would say, hey, talent retention. I couldn't figure out why people were leaving the organization. And it was also a source of frustration for me, because what happened, it was like, in my mind, I was like, we're doing everything in the best interest of the company, for the team, for the individuals. Why are they leaving? The truth of the matter is, people do leave. Sometimes it's for personal reasons. Sometimes the money is just too good to say no to. So in reality, as startup founders, is that you have to be prepared to try over and over again. When it came to fundraising, and for some of you that are in the midst of fundraising, for example, oh boy, right? The number of rejections that you get. Oh, let's take a pause. Let's revisit this next year. Oh, I like you, but maybe in the next round. Guys, that's a no. That's really a no. But don't feel special. You're not special. Everybody gets a no. My tip here, for every no that you receive, add 2 more. You double down, add all these investors, grow your pipeline of potential investors, and eventually you would be able to reach your targets. So provision for these failures. And what this translates to failure for the founders is basically it provides you with multiple bullseye zones so that you can get your timing right in everything that you do. Now, my final hack number 3. Now you basically have created more opportunities. You're now expecting failure to try over again. Guys, please make the shot, right? You really don't want to be what we call a bobo shooter in Singapore, or for the you that foreign, don't be a stormtrooper essentially. You've got a pretty big bullseye here. Go ahead and get the shot. Now, I have 2 suggestions on how to improve your aim. I think the first one, it holds the heart very, very dearly here. Surround yourself with very smart and good people. People who are going to stand up and tell you that, hey, Sean, your aim stinks. You basically want to have somebody to tell you, just like a coach, are you standing correctly? Are you getting your grip correctly? You want people that calls you out when you're doing something incorrectly. You want to create an open startup culture where people are not afraid to tell you that something is not right because they may know something better than you. You want to have an organization that receives feedback timely from across the organization so that then you can take action and redo those corrections. Because speed is very, very essential in a startup. The suggestion number 2 for hack number 3 is the ability to MacGyver anything and everything in a startup, right? If you don't have a sniper rifle, improvise. Make a slingshot, hit the target. Innovate where you can, improvise where you must. Get real, be real. Understand that every decision that you make in any case will have trade-offs. There'll be times that you have to sacrifice long-term for short-term, medium-term for short-term. Should you go on an equity round or should you go on a convertible note? Do you go and lengthen the runway of your startup or do you spend more to rah-rah for more investors? Right? There's always going to be pros and cons to every single decision that you make. But at the end of the day, just remember your day one, where you were bootstrapping out across every single thing. So just remember your bootstrapping day and just imagine how you were able to improvise from A to Z. And that's really it in order for you to get your timing right. Thank you very much, everybody.